Have you ever wondered why those with the deepest spiritual awareness frequently emerge from the most turbulent, dysfunctional households? Why do you, the perceptive one, the one who experiences emotions with unusual intensity, often find yourself cast as the outcast, the misfit, the emotional target, the stranger within your own family circle, if you're drawn to expanding consciousness and diving into life's profound mysteries? Subscribe to fractal wisdom so you never miss insights that illuminate your spiritual journey. Now, let's address something most people refuse to acknowledge. Your suffering isn't divine punishment. It is divine preparation. Carl Jung, a pioneering figure in psychology and spiritual thought, understood that each of us arrives in this world with the capacity for individuation, the process of becoming our most authentic, integrated self. But here is the truth rarely spoken aloud. For those destined to raise collective awareness, your metamorphosis doesn't begin in tranquility. It starts in turmoil. Your birth into a family that resembles a war zone rather than a refuge is no accident. Jung observed that the greatest privilege in life is discovering your true identity. Yet here is the paradox. Your authentic self doesn't surface through ease. It is forged through adversity. When your formative years are saturated with psychological manipulation, domination, abandonment, or indifference, you're compelled to discover a transcendent source of love. That source isn't found in your family structure. It exists beyond them, something vaster and more profound. Some name it God, others the cosmos, or the higher self. Dysfunctional families often serve as your spiritual initiation. They function as training grounds for the soul. They don't create your gifts, but they refine them through pressure. The relentless demand to justify your existence, the emotional volatility, the dismissal of your reality. All of this drives you inward toward the only true refuge remaining, your divine connection. This explains why the family outcast typically possesses the stronger spiritual capacity. You're not merely someone who perceives reality differently. You're someone who confronts what others desperately avoid. While those around you remain unconscious within their delusions, you were awakened prematurely, compelled to comprehend love through its absence, forced to develop profound empathy because you've experienced its opposite. This isn't merely philosophical, it is fundamentally psychological. Jung taught that the shadow, the unconscious wounded dimension of our psyche, must be illuminated for genuine transformation. You weren't born into darkness to embody it, but to comprehend it, endure it, and ultimately transform it into wisdom. When you originate from a family that distorts your identity, attempts to dominate your thinking, ridicules your intuition, or dismisses your emotional existence, they unknowingly forge something indestructible, your spiritual resilience. You discover how to stop seeking external validation. You learn to amplify your inner guidance above external chaos. You master standing firm when everyone surrounding you attempts to diminish you. And here is the spiritual revelation. You required that environment because your soul didn't incarnate for comfort. You came for mastery, to fully embody your purpose in this lifetime and offer your gifts to humanity. From early childhood, you had to learn how to honor your truth, even when unpopular, how to preserve your peace amid chaos, how to release concern for others' opinions. Because public visibility will never feel secure unless you've learned to flourish in obscurity. Let's be explicit. Some families resemble spiritual confinement more than sanctuaries. If you experience constant misunderstanding, were shamed for being excessive or different, or emotionally punished simply for authentic expression, understand this. You're not alone, And you're not cursed, you're chosen. But being chosen doesn't commence with illumination. It begins in shadow. And that shadow frequently wears familiar faces. When Carl Jung examined the psyche, he identified the family as the primary environment shaping the soul. While many associate family with security and connection, Jung cautioned that unresolved generational trauma creates what he termed complexes, emotional wounds that unconsciously govern our behavior. And you, chosen one, were born into that storm's center. A toxic family system isn't random. It is a karmic curriculum. You incarnated into circumstances designed to test every aspect of your being, not for destruction, but for awakening. When love becomes conditional, when feelings are invalidated, when your authentic self is punished, you're thrust into premature spiritual awareness, not from weakness, but because your soul declared readiness, ready to recognize your inherent worth without applause, ready to cultivate inner security without external approval, ready to shatter ancestral patterns so deeply embedded they've become invisible within your lineage. Jung believed wholeness requires confronting the shadow, the rejected aspects of self and society. You were born where shadow dominated. That wasn't error. That was your mission. Every dysfunctional family designates a scapegoat, the nonconformist, the questioner, labeled dramatic, selfish, unstable, difficult. That is typically the most spiritually evolved person present. You weren't born to maintain dysfunction. You were born to dismantle it. That disruption isn't dramatic. It manifests as quietly refusing self-betrayal, even when it costs connection. It appears as solitary tears after gaslighting, while still trusting your intuition. It looks like healing inherited wounds you never created, carrying them, so they end with you. Being the black sheep brings pain, yes, but it is also sacred, because stepping outside the system grants clarity, and only those with clarity can initiate change. Toxic families don't merely neglect emotional needs. They condition you towards self-neglect. They assign roles, the caretaker, the achiever, the invisible one. They reward self-betrayal and punish authenticity. But beneath the surface, alchemy occurs. Each time love withdraws when you speak truth, you begin valuing authenticity over approval. Each time control masquerades as protection, you reclaim sovereignty. Each time tenderness is denied, you become your own source of gentleness. This doesn't glorify suffering, but honors its spiritual function. These wounds don't shatter you, they awaken you. They redirect you from conditional love toward unconditional alignment with source, with soul, with something deeper than worldly experience. The truth is this: your family was your first spiritual battleground, and just as warriors don't train in peaceful meadows, your soul didn't choose easy incarnation. You chose intensity, you chose distortion, you chose mirrors reflecting exactly what you're not, so you could remember exactly what you are. You are love, not control. You are truth, not manipulation. You are connection, not guilt. This is your sacred initiation. While others inherit and repeat family patterns, you declared it ends with me. That is both the cost and privilege of being chosen. Let's discuss what happens when your light begins piercing illusion. Because the uncomfortable reality is that when you start rising, toxic people rarely celebrate. They criticize, mock, gaslight, or attempt dragging you back into the chaos. You're transcending, your growth threatens their illusion, your healing disrupts their comfort. Your clarity reflects what they haven't confronted within themselves. This is why staying grounded becomes essential, not optional. You're not here for their approval. You're here maintaining connection with Source. When you stabilize your frequency, No surrounding storm can derail your path. So how do you protect your light while still among those who misunderstand your journey, who criticize, mock, or attempt controlling your energy? Here are 3 spiritual tools that aren't merely comforting, they're transformational. Let's begin with one of the most potent tools available: the spiritual umbilical cord. Visualize a luminous cord extending from your navel upward into infinity, reaching source itself, not an abstract God concept, but tangible connection to unconditional love, wisdom, and power. This cord is your divine lifeline. It provides what your environment cannot. When feeling drained, judged, invisible, connection to return to this visualization. Picture light streaming into your body, strength into bones, peace into heart, clarity into mind. Let that spiritual nourishment sustain you when human love fails. You're never disconnected. You simply must remember to reconnect. This transcends metaphor. Your nervous system responds to beliefs and imagination. When you believe in greater support, your body literally calms and re-regulates. That is the power of spiritual tethering. The second tool is simple yet life-saving. Stop personalizing their projections. Toxic environments repeatedly echo one message: you're excessive, you're insufficient, you're selfish, you've changed. None of it reflects reality. Their words mirror what they refuse confronting within themselves. This embodies Jung's shadow concept, denied psychic aspects projected onto others. When accused of being difficult, manipulative, dramatic, it reveals more about their internal chaos than your truth. Practice this. When someone attempts shaming or belittling you, pause and affirm: that is not mine, that is their shadow. This doesn't claim perfection, but refuses carrying undeserved blame. That is sovereignty. And when ye that sort think their shame, it cannot adhere. It deflects, you become immune. Here is the third tool, possibly the hardest, especially if you still share space with those who wound you. You owe no one constant access who attempts dimming your light. Distance isn't disrespect. Boundaries aren't betrayal. You can love someone while protecting your peace. You can care while saying no. You can grieve the family you desired while creating the life you deserve. If you can exit toxic dynamics, do so with love and without guilt. But if departure isn't yet possible, create spiritual safety pockets. Connect with aligned souls, even if only through online communities, YouTube teachers, or a single understanding friend. Find people who elevate your frequency, not deplete it. You're not meant to heal in isolation. The more time spent with people reflecting your soul rather than your wound, the faster your light stabilizes. You weren't randomly placed in a toxic family. You were positioned there because your soul possessed strength to transform pain into purpose. And now you're accomplishing it. These tools aren't spiritual platitudes. They're soul survival equipment. They help you remain rooted in reality beyond chaos, where your worth isn't weaponized and your voice isn't silenced. So if today feels overwhelming, return to your source. Remember the cord. Remember your identity. And remember this: you were never broken, just being prepared. The world may not yet honor you, but your path is sacred, and you're walking it alongside millions of other souls. Let's be honest. Sometimes the spiritual path doesn't feel enlightening. It feels like complete dissolution. Of wanting to vanish, where the burden of being misunderstood, the isolation of feeling alone, and the agony of emotional exile seem unbearable, when nothing makes sense and even God seems silent. But this doesn't indicate brokenness. It means you're breaking open. Chosen ones often walk despair's edge because the pressure is that immense. It is not weakness. It is the soul expanding sufficiently to birth new frequency into this world. So if you've numbed pain through distractions, addictions, overthinking, or dissociation, don't judge yourself. That was your survival. But now you're ready to thrive. Let me state this directly. You cannot surrender, not because you owe others, but because your presence here is a gift. Your existence now, in this moment, isn't random. You're part of a global soul wave awakening to higher consciousness. It was preparation. You weren't just healing, you were being refined. This planet is shifting, old systems are collapsing, new paradigms are emerging, and chosen ones are blueprints for what follows. You carry within you the empathy, vision, spiritual endurance, and raw humanity that will guide others through their darkness. Live your own. Once you've pierced the illusion, once you've stopped seeking love from those incapable of giving it, your gifts emerge. Clarity surfaces. You suddenly feel truth somatically without overanalyzing. Sensitivity. You sense things before manifestation. Tune into emotions as frequencies. Compass. Empathy transforms into healing power. Without losing yourself in their pain. Water through unblocked. You stop visibly. Accessed it in survival mode extensively. Pain. Whispers stay small, stay hidden. It is safer addictions, whether to substances, people, overworking or numbing. Say you don't have to feel this now, but you're not here to numb. You're here to feel and still rise. You're not too damaged, not too late, not too exhausted. Every time you choose feeling over freezing, every time you choose staying over escaping, you reclaim soul fragments. There are people you haven't met who will be transformed by your story. But first, you must live it. The family may never apologize. The validation may never arrive. The healing may never be acknowledged by those who broke you. But that is irrelevant, because your liberation doesn't require their participation. Your peace doesn't need their understanding, and your light doesn't depend on their permission. You are proof that darkness can create galaxies, and you are the reason someone else will persevere one day. You're not behind, you're being guided. And everything you thought disqualified you from your purpose was actually preparing you for it. So continue, not just for the destination, but because every forward step is revolution. If you've reached this point, you already know you are not your story's victim. You are the author of a new paradigm. Chosen ones, don't underestimate the strength required to break free and still love, trust, create, and shine. That strength is divine. So when the world feels cold, return to source, connect to that golden umbilical cord of love. Let it refill you. You're becoming, and the world has been waiting for exactly who you're here to be. Thank you for watching, for relating, and for participating in this unfolding awakening. Your presence here matters more than you realize. So if you found value in this video, give it a like. It helps more chosen ones find their way to this space. And if you're journeying through healing, awakening, or simply navigating life as a deeply feeling human in a chaotic world, subscribe to Fractal Wisdom. We're building a soul, aligned community where truth, growth, and light are always welcome. Drop a comment below and share how this resonated with you. Your voice belongs here. Until next time, stay grounded, stay connected, and never forget